Good morning, and welcome back to the Travel Forward stage. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Lee Hayhurst, first and foremost, my old colleague and editor-in-chief of Travolution, and where indeed it all began for me when I came to the travel industry. Lee has 2 sessions lined up for you, and I'm very much personally looking forward to these 2. First, we will hear from Kei Chung of Skyscanner, and then Lee will be hosting a panel on innovation in travel. Lee, the stage is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. As Charlotte said, I'm Lee Hayhurst, Executive Editor at Travolution. We're part of the Travel Weekly Group in the UK, for those of you who don't know us. And we're delighted to once again be the global media partner for Travel Forward. So thanks for coming today. It's very dark out there. I can't see how many there are of you, but there's plenty of faces, so it's good to see you. So we've split our session into 2, really, keep them short and sweet. We think that's the way forward. So we're going to bring on Kei from Skyscanner in a minute to go through her presentation. A couple of questions. No questions from the audience on that one. But then we've got our panel, and please do use Slido if you've got any questions, and I've got the iPad here to field those questions if you've got any, so please do enter those onto the system. So, without further ado, can I introduce Kei from Skyscanner to go through her presentation. Kei, welcome.
Thanks, Lee. So, I'm here to talk about how COVID is driving continuous innovation. And today I'm going to be covering emerging traveler trends. What are these new behaviors and what's driving it? And how does this result in new opportunities for our partners as travel returns? And then I'm going to touch upon how Skyscanner thinks about innovation. So, as we know, COVID-19 has been the biggest impact on the travel industry for a long time. And Skyscanner, like many other partners, has had to react and adapt and think about how we validate our product development. And to do this, we've actually really lent on our data sources that are traveler-focused, such as sentiment, surveys, and then obviously combining these with our behavioral data to help our partners think about the road to recovery. In terms of traveler trends, we know that 2022 behaviors are going to be very different to 2021 and even 2019. So we look at these and we think that propensity to book will be indicated by traveller sentiment. To this point, we actually launched a weekly travel pulse survey to 10,000 of our travellers across COVID in 19 different countries. And these are the latest findings that I'm going to share with you. So from a global perspective, we can see that sentiment is largely on the up and has been consistently since summer, almost hitting 70% across the globe. From a regional perspective, we can see that APAC has actually had a lot more fluctuation in sentiment, but now on the up since summer as well. A slightly different trend in the Americas, where we can see that positive sentiment has largely been unaffected, maybe due to domestic travel being largely unaffected across this period. And in the UK, reflecting the slight dip in global sentiment, but ultimately we see that the percentage of people thinking that things aren't getting better has almost halved to 9%. We believe that sentiment plus the right conditions will equal action. And actions, as our travellers come to us to understand where their dream destinations are and where the perfect hotel, car, and flight opportunities are. We're looking at this forward-looking data and behavioural insight that we're getting from our travellers and seeing how this can be distilled into areas of tangible opportunity. In terms of actions, we see signs of pent-up recovery. So even though sentiment dipping slightly in Europe, in the UK, when the US announced that they would be easing travel restrictions for UK travellers, bookings to the US went up over 200%, with 40% going to the Big Apple. But it's not just transatlantic travel that's seeing a surge. From a domestic perspective, in Australia, we saw searches from Melbourne to the Gold Coast increase 123% on the back of new easing of restrictions. And then looking to the east for international travel, we could see searches for Riga almost double from Riga to Phuket. But not everybody knows where they want to go. And in the UK, in October, the most searched for destination was actually everywhere. We have an everywhere search, which allows travelers to put in a departure point, their preferred dates, and then Skyscanner returns to them a list of available destinations by their preferred price. It's as a result of the everywhere search that we were able to identify non-traditional routes that were being surfaced and therefore unserved opportunities. Unserved opportunities here is defined as points to points where there are no direct and non-stop itineraries, and we think that this is an opportunity for airlines to think about in their network planning. This is also an opportunity for DMOs, as they can see areas of potential new demand and use this to inform their business development and marketing strategies. We can see that dream destinations here, like Bali, Maldives, are featuring high in terms of traveler intent. But knowing where you want to go is only the first step in the traveler's journey. There were 3 key themes when we surveyed our travelers globally on the type of information that they wanted to see. Relevance was key in terms of finding relevant information easily. They wanted to understand how COVID-19 was affecting safety regulations, and also they wanted confidence in their providers. It's with these insights that we're actively using to inform our innovation. And I'm going to touch upon Skyscanner's principles of innovation. Firstly, we are traveller first. We put the traveller at the centre of everything that we do. We're constantly striving to understand their pain points and how we can solve them. We also want to drive additive solutions that scale. So we want to be solving things for our partners and the industry at the same time as the traveller. We're constantly iterating and learning. And finally, we look to leverage our unique attributes to help drive forward the insights that lead to innovation. Our travellers' data needs are evolving, and it's gone from should-know data to must-know data. And I'm going to show some examples of how we've incorporated these insights into product development to evolve our product. The 3 key themes in order to drive traveller confidence: accessible information, understanding flexible policy conditions, and health and safety measures. In terms of must-know data, where can I go? This is our COVID traveller map, which is a real-time interactive visualization of all the travel restrictions and entry requirements. These are actually very dynamic, as you all know, and in the last couple of weeks, we've actually added a vaccine toggle so travellers can understand how their vaccination status affects where they can go. To date, 34 million travellers have engaged with the product from September 2020 to September 2021, with 3 million just in October. So if travellers are voting with their feet, I think we can say that we're meeting a need. Flexible policies. Can I change my plans? The 3 key features that travellers wanted to know about in terms of flexibility were flexible ticket options, refund and cancellation options, and whether there was any COVID-19 insurance. To meet these needs, we added a filter to our product, so travellers can now search by flexible conditions and cancellation and refund policies. For COVID-19 insurance, of which there was none at the time, we actually launched a new product partnering with Cover Genius, unique in the market. And last but not least, health and safety. Travellers want to know if they can trust the provider. To this end, we partnered with Airline Ratings to surface their airline safety scores, which is a score out of 5, which incorporates 5 different caveats, such as mask wearing, whether the food service has changed, and whether there's a daily deep clean of the plane, just to name a few. There are 400 airlines enrolled in this program, and our travellers can be rest assured in the peace of mind that we're providing them with the most up-to-date information for all of their booking data needs. That's it from me for now. Thanks for listening. And if you want to hear more about anything that I've mentioned today, please reach out. And thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for running through that. What Skyscanner's up to. Just everyone looks to companies like Skyscanner to set the tone for innovation and tech investment in the travel sector. So as a company, what is the brand looking to invest in over the next, say, 5 years or so in terms of being innovative and being at the forefront of change in the industry?
We believe that travelers' needs will change over the next 5 years, and therefore our solutions will have to adapt in order to support those needs. But what won't change will be our approach to innovation. So really keeping the traveler center first and foremost, driving those additive solutions for the industry, iterating, learning, and ultimately committed to sharing our unique data attributes to help the industry as a whole. So I think there's a lot of collaboration that we can drive in order to solve traveler needs at speed.
Yeah. I guess that collaboration side of things is going to be more important. A lot of firms are going to have been impacted by COVID, clearly. 18 months without doing any business is going to damage anybody. So access to resources and budgets is going to be squeezed. We'll talk about that in the next part of the session. What do you see emerging out of COVID in terms of collaboration, in terms of using scarce resources to do more for the customer, because the customer expectations don't go down just because the companies themselves haven't got the budgets to invest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in the short term, speed would be my main focus. So speed in decision making, access to the right real-time data sources, I think is paramount. And then once you've decided what you're going to do, executing on that quickly. So partnering with partners that have complementary skill sets and services so that you don't need to build in-house. You can buy, you can rent to get to market quickly. I think in the long term, for me, it will be future-proofing partnerships. So we put travelers at the center of things that we do. If we partner with companies that put travelers at the center of what they do, the solutions will also evolve with our strategic goals, and therefore partnerships that will have longevity will be the focus.
Yeah. So it's a partnership is the key, which is why events like this week are important as well, and why,
Exactly.
why you're here, isn't it? That's why. Okay, well, we'll close this part of the session up now and say thank you to Kay for coming down today and sharing her insights with us. So thank you to KE. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And now I'm going to bring up our panel. Now, I saw 3 of the 4 panelists before we started. And I've got, so I think they're all here, but there may be one person who's not here, so I'm going to make sure before we start. First up, I'd like to introduce Peter Orwan, who is the Chief Digital Officer for TUI Amusement. So welcome, Peter. Come and take a seat. Next, we'll have Mark Pedrosa, who's the Global Industry Director for Travel at Cantox. Welcome, Mark. And we've got Baz Lemons, who's the CEO of Hotel Planner EMEA. Welcome, Baz. Now, we're meant to have Nick Shea. Is Nick Shea here?
Hi. Hey.
No, I didn't see him beforehand, so I'm going to progress, carry on without Nick for the time being. No. Okay, let's carry on. Following on from what Kay was talking about there, this session comes out of a publication that we've come up with every year for the last 10 years or so. And we publish an analysis of technology investment by UK travel companies each year. We launched this at our summit recently and did a sort of similar panel with some of you guys. And we found this year that, not shockingly, tech investment was hit quite badly last year. I think our numbers suggest down by around 36% across the board. And then this year, we're predicting it will only rebound by 15%. So on the whole, what we're finding is that you might not, this isn't surprising, but that budgets are going to be constrained. So the big question, I think, is for everybody is if budgets are constrained, what does that do for innovation and tech investment in travel, which we know is going to be key going forward to operate more effectively and efficiently and get us out of this crisis. I'll ask the panel to introduce themselves briefly because you may not know them and their companies, and then we can get into the conversation. So first up, Peter, TUI Amusement. Explain what you do at TUI Amusement and a bit about TUI Amusement itself.
So I'm the Chief Digital Officer for TUI Amusement, and TUI Amusement is the in-destination part of TUI, doing everything that happens in the destination. and with the ambition to become the leading tourist and activity player in the world. That's
Okay,
us.
good. And just for people that know, Musement originally founded as a separate entity and then acquired by 2E when? A couple of years ago?
2018.
Yeah.
So at that time, we were just the overseas organization, took a strategic decision to become a tourist and activity player, and purchased Musement in Milan 2019, and is now integrated to Musement.
Fine. Okay, lovely. All right. Mark, tell us about who you are and what Cantox does.
Yes, I'm the Global Industry Director for Cantox. And at Cantox, what we do is currency management automation. So basically what we do is helping all kind of travel companies, bed banks, hotel chains, DMCs, tour operators, OTAs, to manage currencies in an effective way, since the moment of the booking until the moment of the collection or payment. Basically, the idea of our software is to secure the margins of every transaction, as I said, in an automated way.
Okay, lovely. And Baz, you seem like a really long way away, but
Yeah, oh no, I'm here. I'm here. It's okay.
Baz, tell us about Hotel Planner and Meetings.com initially, and then a bit about yourself.
Yes, Hotel Planner, a platform for groups, corporate, and also now individual bookings. Already around 70 years. We specialized always in groups, but the last year, because of COVID, we also specialized really good in individual bookings, also by phone. You have to know that we have really now 3,000 agents on the phone, where people can really call. And what just Skyscanner said about we saw also that people didn't trust what they were reading anymore. So now they can speak really to a person who is, for instance, living in Miami, if you want to book in Miami, and they know really all the rules. And they also will contact the hotel to be sure that everything is following the regulations so you can travel safely. In 2 months we go IPO, so we also bought another company, reservation.com. So I think on every field we're touching now, the group, the corporate business and the individual business, and mostly B2B. So long introduction, but then they know what we are.
Okay, good. And you yourself, a long history in travel and technology.
Long history, yeah. I think I just passed the door for the 22nd time. So I'm really getting old. But I love it now more because now it's busy as always.
Yeah.
But 22 years in the industry, Booking.com, first company, did other OTAs, e-bookers here around in London. And what I try to do, I think we talk about that today, is really trying everything that you as a consumer can book better travel. And that's my goal in life.
Yeah. So you don't look like it, but you're a veteran, an industry veteran.
Now I am. If you say 22 times, I'm just
I think
old.
you are.
And we talk about IT. Here we go.
Let's stick with you, Baz, on that. So as you mentioned, your reaction to COVID was to put people on the phones.
Yes.
And that may not appear to be a particularly innovative way to do things. It may actually, you might think it's a retrograde step somewhat.
Every time I explain it, people look at me, they say, what? You're an online guy, it has to be all bang, bang, bang. Even now we launch an Alexa app, so even we see that voice is getting more and more important in this world. And I think Amazon, of course, was the first step. And people really, but what we saw is, especially in the beginning, first it was cancellations, rebooking, call center closing, and our own people took it over. But we saw also that they could really sell travel very well. So the knowledge they have, we used. And everybody was sitting at home, but we said, yeah, if you're sitting at home and you have a headset and you have a computer in front of you, you can work. So that's what we really saw, but mostly that really the human interaction really worked. People were missing that. But most important, and I think now, of course, Skyscanner did a great job to get all that information in front of you, but the last 18 months it was not there.
Yeah.
Or even still now, we are sometimes really surprised that hotel didn't say they were closed, or couldn't even, now we all know we don't have any staff anymore in the hotels, that they cannot handle a lot of people. So it is very important that is a contact from us really to the hotel, but also now to you as a consumer, that you are sure, like the States, can you really fly to the States and stay in this hotel in Miami? And I think everybody wants a reassurance that happens. So,
yeah.
Yes, but it is not also, we needed the tech to do this. It's not like, hey, pick up the phone and stay in the line. No, i.e., we redirect to the right person or the right language. So you need to develop that too. So it's not like, hello, here we have an app and it works. No.
Yeah. So as you know, you've got to have the tech in place to allow those people to do their job.
If not, you cannot scale this.
Way.
If not, you cannot scale. So if you didn't invest in tech, people say, yeah, tomorrow we have an app. Even my girlfriend said, I want to make an app. An app says nothing, even Alexa app, but the background, everything next to that, and the team supporting that, and integration of the partner, that's really a long investment, and you need to do that every day.
Yeah. So behind the scenes, Mark, let's bring you in. Behind the scenes, we're talking about automation in all areas. You operate in a very specific area. But when we talked about this session before we started, we were talking about being brave and taking those decisions during COVID that maybe you wouldn't have taken in any other time of, the progress of your company, but you've almost got to take them. And it does take some bravery to do something different, similar to what Baz was talking about. Have you seen that appetite to be brave, improve during COVID and because of COVID?
Yes. What we have seen is that there is no more room to innovate in the sense of spray and pray. Now you have limited resources. The money is limited, and the resources in terms of human capital is limited too. So yes, there is a kind of a bravery in some companies. You can tell it like this, but at the end, it's a need, because this industry it's innovating in a super fast way. So at the end, what we see is that the treasury departments are becoming innovative, not because they are brave, but because they need to.
Yeah.
And they are becoming more protagonists in terms of managing and in terms of getting in the first page of the company. At the beginning, what we saw is that all these departments, they were more in the back office, and now you see that due to the necessity and the needs of the treasury, and because we all know that now cash is more king than ever, they are becoming in the first page of the company. So it's more, I would say, it's not bravery. It's basically
it's a necessity.
Exactly.
You've got no choice.
It's basically a need. Yeah.
Is there a danger when you're innovating in that environment, though? You innovate in the wrong ways. You're taking decisions that took the more short-term decisions when really you should be looking more long-term strategically.
Exactly. So at the beginning, when all this happened, the decisions were more look at short term. So we need to keep cash. We need basically to money is first, as I was saying before. But what we see now is like a second phase, which is once this survivorship phase has passed, they are looking for more long-term decisions and more long-term views.
Yeah. And so sitting here today, you think most firms you're dealing with beyond the surviving phase, they're now actually into the looking long-term
definitely,
phase.
Definitely. Yeah. We see more interest on innovation on the treasury departments and on the financial departments. But as I was saying, they are not just looking it on a financial perspective itself. It's more in a strategic way for the whole scope of the company.
Yeah. Peter, I know that will chime with you in the sector that TUI operates in. It's that long tail of suppliers. It's not that they didn't want to digitize, it's just that it's been difficult for them and they probably didn't know what the ROI was. But then suddenly COVID comes along and being able to do things on apps is just, well, you couldn't operate without it. So it became a necessity. So I guess you've seen something similar where the people you work with have come to you to say, look, we've got no choice, we've got to go down this route now. And actually that's opened doors and sparked innovation in the sector?
We do the same thing. So just building on what Bas was saying, I just want to take one of the examples that we're doing. We have 12 million customers coming in, and a bit of the unrest now with COVID-19, there was a lot of messaging coming around when the times for transfer bus and stuff like that. We took 200,000 messages that we get every month and automated that into understanding what sentiment and everything was.
Yeah.
And made this into predicted services, which was really important to us, giving the comfort to our customers to know the time of the transfer buses before. And this is something that we now also, because with the suppliers, also now testing to roll out with suppliers as well as a new services.
Yeah, it's interesting what's going to come out of COVID that people did in reaction to the situation as it was, which then will then morph into something more long term. So on the way in today, I had a meeting with the chief executive of TUI in the UK, and he said, look, our site became an information site. It turned from a retailing site to a trusted source of information for if you were travelling, what were the rules and regulations, especially in the UK, they were constantly changing and a lot of lack of clarity.
Correct.
But he says this will continue, and he's actually saying, well, it will continue into maybe when people want to talk about sustainability and the issues and the facts and figures around that. We will then, we've done this work now. It will be there for the long term. Similar to amusement. What have you done during this period that you know will then be there for the long term, for the benefit of the industry?
I think what you're tapping into, the whole thing about getting a seamless travel for our customers, that will be there for a long time. And I think the scalability into that one is super important. We created something that we call the travel hub, but all the different information into one that we can give to the customers when they need it. And that been, I mean, before COVID, I think we had 10, 15,000 messages, and as I said, 200,000 just coming in. So I know that will come from a fact, and something that we'll continue to use after this as well.
Yeah, and seamlessness, Baz, is what everyone's talking about. You know, it's
Yes.
easily said, not very easily done.
It is, I think it's still not done, and I
Yeah.
think all the big, the Golden Booking Holding and Expedia, they try to do it, and that's their goal really. I think Glenn Vogel said it last year over and over again. When are we really? They have this one app, one seamless experience, one point of contact, get the right information to you, but also even still, you know, what you're just saying, you know, booking a flight, an hotel, an activity. But then my plan are changing. I have to go to 3 different sources again to cancel it. So that is still what has to happen, and I think we're moving that way. And I think the big platforms and even our company, we're helping each other. How can we get that seamless experience? Now we can do flights and hotels, but what you say, adding up also activities, but also buses, etc. I think that will be the next step. And I think, and everybody has to do what he's really good at. So working with the partners who, what he's doing, we will use his knowledge in his IT, we will incorporate it in our company. And even on activities, we are not an activity website, so we use company like them to give that experience and that information, because they have the right information. I have to do everything over again. I think, and that's really hard. Yeah. So what we constantly do is pick out the right partners, and even that's mostly on region level. Because everybody, you know, if starters come to me, I want to do the world. That's not possible, guys. Please try to do something good in one country, on one postal code, and then start ruling the world. Because also we are very good in the US, but we have a lot of work to do still in APAC and Europe. That's the game.
Yeah. But that dream of the frictionless travel has been there for a while. And yeah. So something's stopping it happen. Was it the tech? Was it a mindset? Was it lack of collaboration?
It's hard.
Of those things.
It's hard to get that done. My mom always said, oh, what do you do with a hotel planner? You know, we have booking with Trivago. They think done. No, it's not done. But it is on the back end to get everything. For me, it is 22 years of education for the hotels. Now, you say that the travel industry is a very fast-moving industry. Lee and I know it's not. It's constantly education, also to the hotels. You know, they have a different system. Do they use SideMinder or other PMS? And we have to connect that one. So it's constant. It is an IT game. But what we try to do, and I think we started the journey 22 years ago, how do we get OTA standards, for instance, or standard things so we can connect very easily with each other? Everything in the cloud now. That was a big step on IT, because now I can even do my, how do you call it, financial system is connected, and it's not a separate system. So all these kind of things are changing now rapidly, and I think if we talk again in 4 or 5 years' time, I think that's the biggest step will ever happen.
I guess, Mark, it's when the tech is there and it's able to do things, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. It's then instilling the trust among the potential users, particularly with what you do. When you're getting deep into the treasury, into the nuts and bolts of a business, it's not the consumer-facing stuff, but it's actually, you know, that could make a difference between a business makes money or not in the year. So there's a lot of trust needed there.
Yes.
And that's got to be built. Do you think that COVID has changed that dimension slightly, where you go, well, I'm prepared to trust these things a bit more because of what they suggest they can do for us as a company?
I said it changed, but in a positive way, because what we saw, at least at the beginning, it was that maybe the trust, of course, it was a thing. We are a 10-year-old company, so of course it's something that you need to build, trust, and when you are talking about money and finance, it's a must. But now what we are seeing is, again, more and more interest, and as Vas said, we just focus on currency management automation. We don't do anything else. So we want to be the best ones in the world at this. Yeah. Then, if we want to basically add some features or whatever to our products, we use partners. because we know that they are better than us at that.
Yeah.
So we allocate all our resources at this topic. And what we see is that companies can see that, and the interest, of course, it's rising. What we don't want to become, it's the super app, the WeChat of travel, because one, we will not be good at it, and two, I think this is just possible in China.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we talk about seamlessness and frictionless, I think maybe what's missed often is that as long as unless everything's done that way, it will never end up being that way for the consumer. The consumer always ends up feeling the issues that are in the back office. They don't necessarily know what's going on, but if there's an issue somewhere in the back office, you cannot then provide that end consumer. And that's maybe the realization that's coming through the industry, is it? That everything's got to be in tune.
Exactly. And exactly. And so it's what you were saying, no? So it's not just the UI, what you are seeing on your screen. At the end, it's a bunch of people working a lot of hours there in a daily basis to be able to show you that. And one thing is that we are always seeing travel companies talking about to be customer-centric, and now it's a topic that everyone is talking, not? In our industry, what we see is one topic that it's touched a lot is the guest payment customer-centric. So one thing that we are seeing is that, for example, hotel chains, they say, yes, I want to increase my direct bookings, I want to increase my direct sales, but then when you go to their website and you want to go from London to Spain, to Mallorca, to spend your summer, they just allow you to pay in euros, and you have your salary in GBP. So this is just one topic that we are seeing, that yes, you want to be customer-centric, but you are not. At the end, you need to be consistent on what you are saying. Yeah. And as you were saying, that there's a lot of things to improve yet.
Yeah. Peter, we discussed this at our summit when your colleague Nishan did a session for us, and the potential for a paradigm change here, where in travel, for most customers, if you want to be customer-centric, they don't think about their holiday and go, oh, I'm really looking forward to that flight or booking into that hotel. They're looking forward to the thing they want to do on holiday. It could be just laying on the beach, but if you're going to Disney, it's going to the Disney theme parks or that particular water slide. It's an experience they're after, and the booking of a hotel and a flight is how they get there and how they do it. And yet, in travel, we sell people the other way around. We say, tell us where you want to fly from and to, and you'll need a hotel. And, oh, by the way, what do you want to do when you're there? Are we moving gradually, maybe, and companies like yourselves pushing this because you're digitalizing this sector, to changing that around a little bit, to saying, let's think about the experience first. And if you're going to do that experience, you're going to have to get a flight, you're going to have to get a hotel, but let's get that experience locked in, because that's the inspiration piece that maybe has been missing in travel, isn't it?
I think, that was a great promotion for us, so that was great. Thanks a lot for that. No, we think exactly like that, and I think TUI and all doing a big push for us to do that. Mm-hmm. I think traditionally you have seen that in certain destinations it actually starts with the experience first. If you go to Hurghada to see the pyramids, or if you go to Orlando to see the theme park, that's where you start the planning, and then everything goes in there as well. So from a TUI world or to amusement perspective, that's it. That is the aim. We are the door into the bigger picture. Yeah. And it sounds so easy, but again, as we were saying, it's unbelievable difficult to do it because it needs to be connected in the back. So you can have this seamless experience again, moving in from activity, and then you build on with the hotel and with the flight and everything, and back and forth in all the different channels, etc. Yeah. It's a challenge.
Yeah, it is, but it's also an opportunity, because all challenges are opportunities, and hence you see the big guys getting into this. So the bookings and the Expedias, but obviously the Airbnb, experiences with Airbnb is one of their big bets that's going to be the thing that's going to project them into the stratosphere. They're already massive as it is. So you're going to have competition doing this in the ways that you do it. How do you see that whole sector playing out then in terms of how we get that experience up front?
Everybody we speak to, all the clients that are interested in experiences, they're asking two things basically. One, are you easy to connect to? We've been spending an enormous effort into be easy to connect to, which we now are. And the second part is, how many of those products that you're selling are your own, which is the other part. So we are also a huge provider potentially bigger than Airbnb in terms of providing own excursions, in addition to all the fantastic partner experience that we're having. So that's how I see this going forward.
Yeah.
That's the two big plays.
I suppose in the long tail of providers, there are a lot of providers there. It's
Yeah.
very difficult to be able to vet them, be able to stand in front of them and say, we vouch for this. So there's a difficult job to do there.
Yeah.
And there are ways of doing that in a sort of cursory way and potentially opening yourself up to regulation, or you come at it from a tour operator's point of view,
Yeah.
which is what I guess TUI does, and tries to do it in a more traditional manner, but that is potentially more expensive. So
Yeah.
is that maybe the options in front of the industry to be
I
more of a
think-
platform to provide the product to consumer direct, but take little responsibility for it, or to do it in a more kind of tour operating manner and be responsible for the product and delivery of the product?
I think that's a great question. I have a really long answer, so I try to be short. We discussed that at length, and we took the approach at least, and that we are looking into this. We actually are vetting all our products.
Yeah.
So every single product are vetted, so you can't find everything with us because we think it's so important for the customers to feel safe. So that's the approach we took.
Okay. Let's talk about partnerships and collaboration, because we ended on that with KE. And I know, Baz, we've spoken about this, and you have a particular point of view about whether you use a partner, particularly for tech.
Yeah.
Where you stand on that sort of dilemma of going in-house or building it yourself or going outsourcing. Where does the line draw? Is it horses for courses, or are there certain principles you should apply?
No, principles. I believe that every good company has a good DNA of a product they are really proud of and why they started it. Because the first idea, I always say, with a startup, if it was Booking.com, Expedia, Hotel Planner, they had a view, that vision, and they want to optimize that vision on solving a problem. That's the first thing. So what we try to do internally is constantly solving that, the bookings process, the group process, then the phone bookings. But other things like payment providers, no, we will choose the best ones. We will choose Nuve or Stripe, depends on which one, because they constantly are improving that system. So things, even I'm not going into like data storage, so don't let Amazon do that. So no, I'm not going into that one.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things making your thing possible. What we try to do is, I just said about IT, but I think a more important thing is to have a good contract, even with your providers. Like, why do we need this? Like the WTM, we need that because we need a better contract with our partners. And it can be a provider of tech, but also with hotels. And explaining constantly what you're doing, because then you can optimize process and we get a seamless thing. I want to know what Musement is doing, so I can learn from them again. Saying that about, you know what is, if you have kids, then this starts, you know. I want to go to that park, you know. When I didn't have kids, I could just, let's book in a nice hotel. So that changed if you have kids. Sorry to say about that one, because I have a kid now, and she's only looking at amusement parks these days. Come on.
I know the pain.
Yes, I know you probably, but that's also because of social media. They're looking more like that. But going back, yes, we constantly search, because I get approached a lot by a lot of IT companies, you know, boss, we can help you with this and this. But API integration, for instance, yes, I want to have, because there's so much to integrate around the world. I think I have 20, 30 APIs waiting. I can do it externally, but that doesn't work because I need somebody who's touching our system to do exactly how we want to do it, because we have a kind of customer. And that customer serving is how we approach them already 17 years. Mm-hmm. So I cannot have another company doing it differently and integrating that. So that's what we do in-house, and that's API integration, constantly optimizing our system, make it faster, etc. But everything around that, we will look for the best partner. And I think that's the only way to do it.
Yeah. And actually, models are changing on the tech supplier front. You know, we're talking to people now. We're bringing in more flexibility is a big word for everybody these days.
Oh, yeah.
Flexible business models in terms of subscribing to the tech, but short-term contracts so that you can come out if you're scale up and down, which is very important.
Oh, but I believe in the SaaS product, what is now really, because you all have Netflix, everything is known to it. Yeah. But I even have a car, you know, why should I even buy a car? I just want to have a car and it's upgraded every month. Subscribe model. So I think subscribe model for IT companies work very well. Also, you pay every month a bill. If it's not good, you say, hey, maybe I'm going to switch very fast. But that's also easy. But big projects, because what I learned from IT development externally, mostly like building a house. You think it's 1 million, but eventually you end up 4 million, because during the way, every company is different. I have different needs, and I only discover that when we start working on it. Even with payment companies, no, everything is fine, reporting, and then you discover our reporting is different in the States. So, problem. Yeah.
That is up. You hear that a lot in Mark in travel. You know, a lot of people who look at integrating tech, their eyes roll and they go, "This is going to be too much like hard work," even though they know it's a good idea. Now you'll say that's changing, I'm sure, because you'll tell me Cantoc's very easy to integrate, but it has to be, doesn't it? Really, I mean, that has to be a no-brainer.
Yes.
Because if it's difficult and expensive and doesn't do what you want it to do, then you're just going to be put off doing it.
No, in terms of integration itself, it's not that difficult, and that's why we use partners. So let me explain a little bit how we do it. In terms of changing the mindset and educating the client, for me, that's the most difficult part of it. So basically what we do is basically reading the exposure, the risk, the bookings that these clients are getting, okay? And how do we read this? Or they send us this information, this data, bookings, modifications, and cancellations, or we partner with booking engines, we partner with channel managers that they already have this information, right? So in terms of integration itself, it's not that difficult, but as I was saying, once we have this information, then it comes the financial risk, no? Okay, I will not collect this today. I will collect this in 90 days, or I will have to pay this in 90 days, or in 120 days, or wherever your conditions are. So that's the difficult part of it, and that's what we try to manage it by also beginning just the software piece. So basically, we can be just the software piece, and then the liquidity provider can be your existing banks, or we can be the liquidity provider. For those big companies that we were saying, Booking, Expedia, and all that, they already have their bank suppliers. They already have we are just becoming the software piece on that. And that's what is changing in these big companies, how we are approaching them, basically.
In the time we've got left, let's talk about the last one big issue, which is driving people to using partners, and that is access to digital skills. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing at the minute in all sorts of sectors where staffing issues and access to skills is an issue. But it was true in digital before COVID, and it's no doubt going to be true going on. So, Peter, how do you make sure that you compete for the skills that you need in the business, and how important is that you do that for the industry? Because if they're going to partner with you, they're going to want to know that you've got the best people in the business with the right skills.
So part of the answer of that one was the reason why we actually did acquire Musement, because they were having digital talents, basically. So that was part of the equation. And right now we're selling the transformation story. So we're taking an old legacy part of TUI and transform it into the platform, which is something that we find the talent and the talent skill people, they really enjoy that. So the whole transformation piece is interesting. We've been mainly focusing around talents in Spain and Italy, but now we're looking everywhere. So I think we are like everybody else. We're finding that getting the right people, you need to have a compelling purpose, you need to have everything else in place to be able to draw them to you. Yeah. That's how we work.
It's in part as well, it's the industry selling itself as an industry to work in. I was speaking to the CEO of Expedia the other week, and he was quite bolshy about, he's competing for talent against the big boys again. He's competing with the Googles and the Facebooks and so on. And he said the right thing, I think. You travel, if you're a tech developer and you want to work in an industry that you can feel proud that you're doing something, that's not just about generating hate speech, etc. Maybe the travel industry is for you, and maybe we can't compete necessarily on the wages, but actually, if you want a purpose, this is what we need to put forward. So the industry's got to, I guess, and the industry as a whole has got to sell itself as a place to work.
I think so, because the product itself is such a huge USP. We're saying now that come and work for us because you can work anywhere in paradise, because we're now saying that in TUI we have a flexible workplace. If you're going to work in any of our 109 destinations over 9 countries, then you're up for that. And at the same time, the other promise is that because of a transformation, you will work with the latest of technology, which is the other USPs that everybody's looking for. Yeah. So those two in common will be powerful.
That's it, isn't it, Baz? There's two things. You've got to say, this is a really interesting sector to work in from a digital point of view. You'll develop skills that you wouldn't elsewhere and do interesting stuff. but we're also flexible in terms of the way you work. So with home working, I guess, that is now...
No, exactly, that's true. And also, even we are based in West Palm Beach. It was not for nothing, because on the West Coast in San Francisco, talent is, you cannot even afford it.
Yeah.
So if you don't make there over $200,000, you go out of there. So it's, yes, attracting talent, but also, yeah, I think we have the most difficult product to sell, because we're selling mostly disappointment. Because people think, they go, you know, you're a 5-star hotel. Oh, this is not a 5-star hotel. I'm just skip the line. This is no skipping the line, you know, for activities. So we're selling something, we're selling a moment. And that and people are very critical about it, because they spend their money, and even business-wise, you know, we spending our time. So it's very important that everything makes sense. And that's really funny why it took so long that every company looked at, and I think the crisis was a good one, because that identified which company was not very good at customer service. Because they got like 90% people canceling their bookings because, of course, what happened. But they also noticed which company were not really nice. We were not rebooking or a stupid voucher. So I think I like the crisis because it always, you know, it separates the boys from the men.
Yeah.
So, and even with IT talent, now our people, you know, every project was going on in our company. But now crisis, I think, like a startup, I like it. What is it going to deliver us? What does the customer really have an advantage of this development? So I think the crisis was very good that, and even searching for external partners. If I got a message on LinkedIn, I'm very good at API integration. I don't care. Solve my problem. First see, what's my problem? Can you solve it? And then do the pitch. Also externally, I think that's really important. I don't care about, you know, all these emails I hate scrolling already, but that people just say, I'm very good at it. No. Identify my problem and then come with a proposal, and then I will work with you. I think that's shift, and don't waste my time.
Yeah, and I guess the next stage of that is going to be how firms address the sustainability problem as well. I mean,
yeah.
And that is about a staffing issue as well, because the workforce of the future wants to feel they're working for companies that are taking the big issues of the day seriously.
It's really hard what we are doing, because if you know, I can drive an electric car, but how many people do I send into the sky to do the travel? Yeah. So we are on sustainability. It's really hard. But the only thing is back about information. Tell people about. I stayed at a Kokomat hotel in Athens, and they were like 99% almost everything the neutral. So yes, my daughter wants to stay over there, because I think the next generation, I can just not get away that I didn't look for it. My daughter will tell me, Daddy, is this hotel trying to, you know, do their best? And staying longer. What a big shift is that people are not going up and down to New York anymore. They stay 4 or 5 days. That's also, I think, very good. You know, if you go, then take your time and don't go like twice every year. So I think there's a lot of shifts during after this crisis. I think the good way.
Yeah. Just a quick word on Cantox on that staffing issue. You're based in Barcelona. Mm-hmm. Again, nice place to live and work, so there's that advantage. How do you find competing for talent? Because you're obviously not just a travel company, you're a fintech company.
Yes. Of course, the location it's usually helps to be in Barcelona, but as you were saying, we are a fintech company. We are not a travel company. We are a fintech company helping travel companies and other industries. In terms of talent, what we see is that the global pool of talent is increasing. So in terms of, you can see people interested in the new, basically in the new trends, studying computer science, data science, and all this. And for example, now we have 30 positions open. Most of them are in the tech and IT departments. And we see that all the candidates that we are basically interviewing, the level is increasing quite a lot. Yeah. Of course, we needed to adapt in terms of flexibility too. Even some people didn't want, but we had to. So now we have a flexible, we have an hybrid model. So we are 2 or 3 days in the office, 2 or 3 days at home.
Yeah.
But of course, the location helps. Usually, we get some summaries coming from the UK.
Yeah, good. Yeah, sure. We've got very little time left. There was one question on Slido before the actual iPad died because it's run out of juice, which was a difficult one to put to you because I'm not sure you'll have an answer to this. But I'll put it to you. It goes back to our original question about information and reliable information. Does any of you know of a platform that you rely on have been relying on for COVID information, for up-to-date, reliable information? And it's not a bad question, because actually, as part of our relationship with Travel Forward, we put forward some companies for an award each year, and this year the winner was a company called Travel Perk, which came out with Travel Safe, which was their COVID information hub, and actually Skyscanner uses that, so it was a nice segue into this session. And they won the award this year because of that response to COVID and bringing out something that was reliable. So that's one, if whoever asked the question, because it was anonymous. Baz, do you know of anyone? And if you don't, doesn't that point to how difficult this was to do?
No, yeah, it is difficult, yes. There are platforms, of course, the governments. I'm also part of the WTTC, World Travel Council, would advise governments, so we know a lot what's happening. But that's what the beauty why we did this big gig call center. We ask our own people. So we know the people living in Miami, they know the rules. So we're using our own intelligence of our own people sitting everywhere around the world. What are the rules? Because it is changing very rapidly. I have to go to the UK, and again it changes. You know, I was busy 1 hour to book a ticket plus a locator form. It's almost impossible. And what we do, tomorrow we have a dinner again with the WTTC. We are really a little bit angry on the governments because it is almost impossible to follow up. So what we try to do is that the governments now, and there are good website, but keep, flowing this information on. So yes, the one from Skyscanner, of course, yes, Travel Safe. Yeah. And there's really local people, because the information is not correct. It's still not.
Mark, it's the nightmare. Even the Travel Perk guys are saying to me, sometimes we're ahead of the government websites because we've got into the information source. Do you know of anybody, or?
Yeah, in fact, the guy that built Travel Safe is my best friend. Okay. So this he was basically building it during COVID. I remember that we were talking, and then if I'm not wrong, he sold it to Travel Perk. He joined Travel Perk and then to Skyscanner too. That's right. So he was one guy alone at his room, like nothing to do. Let's build an API, and yeah, of course we are following this one.
Yeah. A great example of how innovation works, to be honest.
Exactly.
Peter, you got any views on that?
I can't for my life remember the name of the platform. It's a UK platform. Yeah. We did everything by ourselves all the way to August. Then we switched to the platform, and that was a lot easier because then we can automate a lot of the answers. Yeah. But that has been the number one biggest challenge this summer, to get the information right out to the right customer at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, and to wrap things up, a great example of how the industry has reacted and automated under duress almost, because they've had to. But unfortunately, it's taken that. But maybe in the future we'll see more automation, more innovation just coming naturally through the industry. So we certainly hope that. Our time's done. The clock is flashing red, and we're beyond time. So please join me in welcoming, thanking the guys for their input today. Thank you to Baz. Thanks to Mark. Thanks to Peter. Thanks for your time today. That's it from us for this session. Enjoy the rest of the couple of days, 3 days you've got here, and the rest of the sessions. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you.